Today with us we have Ethan Dabbs, USA national champion in Javelin, one of the best throwers in NCAA of all time, record holder ACC, record holder for his school, record holder for many people's heart. Ethan Dabbs is a Wolverine. He came back from surgery. He's going to come back again. This podcast was recorded a couple of years ago when I was still his coach back in an old school. But nevertheless, still timely because Ethan Dabbs has a lot of lessons for many young men and women out there on how to deal with injuries, how to come back stronger, and how to maintain the high level of performance. So without further ado, Ethan Dabbs.
We have Ethan Dabbs here with us. Ethan is our school record holder, ACC record holder, ACC championships record holder. Just one more record in front of you. That was before we start talking about how you got into all throwing and everything. Tell us about that weekend. How did it feel? What came up to it? And your thought process. This is if you threw 80 meters first time in your life, 80 meters mark. That's all the Javelin starting dream about. They can win big events, finals with those distances. So how did it feel coming up to it?
I mean, as I feel like a lot of people know, I tore my UCL the year prior. I had surgery in July. I actually competed with it torn, which was a good old time. But I competed with it torn. Kind of sobered me up to the fact of like if I really want to do everything or not. And I think rehab. I've talked to a lot of people about it. A lot of people reached out to me on Instagram. They're like, "Hey, like it's really inspiring to see what you're doing. Appreciate being a role model, all that stuff." And that's been humbling too. But it's really nice to see that I'm kind of somebody who's guiding, I guess, other people with their like recovery journeys and stuff. But like I said, it was a really long journey leading up to that. Had surgery in July, so it's probably 10 months after I tore it. And I normally come back quick from like injuries in general, but
Ethan heals like Wolverine, by the way.
Yeah, but I mean, I've dealt with adversity before, but I mean, like throwing, especially like your arm when you hurt it, like, and I feel like when you're in a position like I am, like it's like your identity, and to have that taken away from you so quickly was sobering because like I stepped up to the runway and at ACCs last year and I just knew that it was going to hurt so bad. Like I've torn my ACL, I separated my shoulder, dislocated my shoulder. I had nerve damage in my neck. It's probably the worst pain I've ever felt in my life, tearing my UCL and then competing with it torn. But so that, like I said, that really put everything into perspective as to like if I really want to do this and kind of carry that attitude into rehab. And I mean, I worked my ass off for 10 months and continuing to at this moment. But yeah, really, like I said, put everything into perspective. And I think that the moment, leading up to that was, Duke 2 weeks prior, I threw 71 from like the easiest approach I've probably ever thrown in my life in a competition. But I threw that and I felt really good. In practice, I was having some good feelings. And actually that Tuesday, it was cold. And I feel like my arm's very sensitive to cold and stuff now, especially being so fresh out of surgery. But so I wasn't exactly feeling like 100%. But then the day came and I woke up feeling really loose, and I was like, woke up feeling dangerous kind of deal.
Yeah.
But no, I knew it was going to be a good day. I didn't think that it was going to be as big as it was, honestly. But I think the fact that Tim Glover showed up, he threw 78 on his first throw. And I was like, well, I mean, you got to protect the house, I've never lost at home. And I don't plan on doing it. Yeah. But yeah, so pulled that one out I pulled a 79 out on my third throw. Yeah. And then on my last throw, I figured might as well just, see what I can get out of it. Yeah. And so let it go and just like went white for like 2-3 minutes afterwards. But yeah, it was really cool, that experience. But I mean, it's a 22-year journey, but I mean, it was especially those last 12 months leading up to it, really kind of makes everything simple because you really get an understanding of where you want to be and what your goals are and like how much throwing in general has, in your has how much of an impact throwing has on your life.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that was the big motivating factor, I guess. You know, kind of going through that recovery process and realizing like I want to do this for the rest of my life or as long as possible, you know, and at least be around the community for the rest of my life. And but like I want to be damn good while I have the opportunity to. So yeah.
No, having that opportunity, right? So you just talked about you want to be on top, and you do have opportunity, and that's a really special thing. As a thrower, as a person, anything you do in business, there's ups and downs. Right? As a thrower, injury comes. Some people are more talented than others, right? So that's reality too. But you still want to put your whole effort in it. And you are now at the edge of having what every thrower wants, every athlete in every sport. When they start sport, they want to be the best in what they do, right? And you now cross that big milestone of 80 meters. Just to recap those meets, we are taking a lot of precaution right now. Yeah. Because, yes, you are Wolverine, but you are 10 months out of surgery. Yeah. Right? So that elbow surgery catches a lot of throwers, javelin throwers, baseball players, right? And the rehab to it, it can be a long process, and again, depends on person. But we took what I'm really excited, not just 80 meters, which is crazy. It was 79 before that, right? It was 72 meters, almost from crossovers, right? Approach was 5 crossovers, and that was really impressive. And I remember the meet was only 4 throws, just for the audience to know. We made it short because of schedule, but it was obviously enough for big throws. First 3 throws, we were planning to do the same way we did at Duke, right? Just a short approach. And Duke, you really want to slow. And the first throw, boom, 60. What was it? First one? 61. Yeah, it was just a drill. Like, okay, this is really good. He didn't even release it. And that was 71, 60 or 80. 71, 62. That was really impressive. Started the same way this past weekend, 71, 80 or something like that. You missed the second part, second throw, but you look so good. And I remember you asked me, Coach, should I go full approach? Yeah. I'm like, you know what? Yeah, it's early. It's only 10 months, but you are so ready right now. Let's see what you can do. And then 70, 79, and then 80. Which just, like I said, I'm so excited to see what's next and how far you can go through. How do you feel now going up to, and our plan for next couple meets?
I feel very comfortable. I think that's the one thing that this has brought. Like I'm not really somebody who gets caught up in, you know, like accolades or awards or anything like that. I think this has really just been like a motivating factor for me, honestly, because, you know, like you get a bunch of people reaching out to you. They're like, hey, congrats, you know, like, and I really appreciate that. And I don't want to sound like I don't, but like, also I feel like those people maybe don't necessarily have the same understanding of like all the stuff that you went through to get to that moment. And I feel like this is a point that a lot of people can benefit from, but like, don't let other people dictate your goals, because once you let that success get to your head, you know, like once you feel like you're good enough, you're not good enough anymore. So you have to keep kind of motivating yourself, I guess. And like, and my goal, like one thing that I've always done in the past, and I think it's been really helpful for me, is use a really lofty goal, like set myself up for at the beginning of the season. And then if I don't reach it, oh well, you know, but if I do reach it, then, you know, even better. But I think this year, the one thing that I've done differently is not approach it from that same way, because I know that like recovery is not like a linear process. And I haven't really set any particular goals, at least before last weekend. But yeah, so I didn't really set any like super lofty goals or anything. I just kind of wanted to feel it out. And I think that's been really beneficial for me, because like I didn't want to have any like I didn't want to have any regrets going like by the end of the season, like because I you know, I had a couple numbers in mind, but I really didn't know like how I would feel whenever you get in a competition, you know. But like I said, like now obviously my perspective has changed a little bit, but I think that perspective changing has been really, really helpful, because I'm kind of going with the flow more than I have in the past, which I think is really helping me out now because, like I said, I'm comfortable, but I'm not by any means like stagnant because I don't think like one thing growing up, my dad always told me is like the enemy of great is good. So
I love that.
I think
I love that.
like and he's like, you know, like you're a big fish in a little pond, like that kind of deal. Because like we grew up in a small town, and like I was one of the better athletes from my hometown. Like I was a good football player from my hometown, but like wasn't getting any D1 college looks. But like, and obviously Javelin took me to the level that I'm at now. But yeah, so like you kind of just have to put everything in perspective of like, you know, like I said, you know, do these people really understand like what this means to me or like what my goals are in the end? And like I said, I'm not trying to sound like ungrateful or anything, but you just kind of, I think as an athlete, you kind of have to realize the fact of like people compare themselves to you because they see you as like an unattainable goal, or they see you as somewhere that they didn't get to, which I think is really, really important in like realizing, you know, people will hype you up a lot, but also, you know, you can't let that hype get to your head because then at that moment you're going to start to fall off. Like you can think you're good, but as soon as you kind of really take it to heart, you know, like that's whenever you start to fall off because you don't have the same respect for your competitors or the same respect for your training that you did in the past. And I think that's been something that's really like been helpful in like guiding me through my athletic journey. But yeah, shout out to my dad for that.
Yeah, and this is what you're continuing for, right? You don't want to set any numbers in your head, and you don't want to think, okay, I have to throw 90 meters next 4 meets, but I got to get better. You got to celebrate your wins, obviously, and take those compliments that people give you, but you should never live in the clouds, right? Because and you know this. Every detail matters. Injury might be just around the corner, right? A bad day, a bad step. You get food poisoning from a good restaurant, right? There's just so many things that can happen to put you down on the ground. And if you are so high in the clouds, you're going to fall so hard, right? So be humble the whole time, right? Like, yeah, this is great. I love it. Thank you, guys. And, you know, tap yourself on the shoulder. But also realize this can go as it did for you 3 times in a row. I got talked about your injuries.
Yeah.
In high school, you had a surgery on your knee.
Yeah.
You're doing well. Boom, injury. You come as a freshman in college, and you had a surgery, right? You come freshman in college, 76 ACC championships record. The future looks great. Boom, shoulder. Right? You're doing snatch. Shoulder gives up. Still able to throw 76 through that. Have to go to surgery that summer. You're looking good, 2020, and I got, you know, talk to people about your journey that you had, right? So 2019, very, very promising. 2020, training is going incredible. Ethan is throwing over 72 3 meters from short approach, from crossovers, right? At practice, and he just bombs are throwing. Boom, COVID. Right, an injury, but you can't compete. The world's shut down. How do you keep mentally strong? The 2021 comes, you're all like, okay, it's been 2 years. I've been waiting for this moment. Elbow starts aching, right? And then and we talked about this last year. If you didn't compete that year, that will be, yes, you're mentally strong, but at some point you start doubting yourself. Like, I haven't competed in 4 years. I have no idea what I'm capable of. Is this path for me? Why should I do track? All right. Yeah. And you popped a couple fouls, right? Because we haven't been able to throw. You were hurting.
I didn't pick up a javelin for 3 months before ACCs. Like, I didn't even have one in my hand. You had me throw with my left hand.
Yeah. We were doing left-hand throws. Just because there's some research, cross benefits of that. Then you come, to 2 rally relays, foul, big one, start hurting your elbow, and then elbow surgery. So this is 2022 now. After 19, now you get a chance to compete after surgery again. So how did you keep your focus? I know it's hard, but from those 4 years and high school, all these injuries, and you keep coming back to them, right? And keep healing like Wolverine. What's your take? What's your advice for young men and women out there who are experiencing the same? And you have for 5 years.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like going through those, like I wouldn't wish it upon anybody. Like doubting yourself is terrible. I think that's honestly worse than having anybody doubt you. And like I said, like especially when you're a throwing athlete and you're, going through, or an athlete in general, and especially like at the level that we're at, you go through stuff like that and it takes away part of your identity. And I think that's the hardest part. And so, I mean, like I said, it's not really, it's not a linear process. And I know I said that before about something else, but like there were moments like I was depressed, I was anxious, I was struggling. And like, you kind of like as a man, you're like, you got to man up, fight through it. But I mean, you saw it like in my grades, you saw it in my weight, like going through everything like that is hard, but like I said, it puts everything in perspective. But yeah, like I think, I think the biggest advice I'd have for anybody going through something like that is don't base your end goal off of like the week to week. You gotta set like goals for a certain amount of time. So like, you have your 3-month checkup after every surgery, every kind of major surgery that I've had at least. And
you're gonna be a doctor at the end of it.
I mean, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, checkups, yeah.
Yeah, but so you got your 3 months. I feel like that's a good basis for starting out. But any progress that you're going to make in that first month is going to be the slowest and most like dull and draining process that you'll probably ever go through, because it's boring. Like you're doing the same exercises every day. You're making very little progress. It's redundant. At least it feels redundant. You feel like you're torn apart, literally from the inside. You see like the hemorrhaging through your body. Like my arm looked like somebody took a sledgehammer to it after I was done with surgery. The same thing with my knee, same thing with my shoulder. Like you can't sleep. You can barely eat. And then whenever you can eat, like especially in my position, because like I guess that's something that I do, but like stress eating and stuff takes over. If you get anxious, like it like exacerbates any kind of like mental state that you're in that's negative, I think, because like you're not going to have positive emotions come out of that, especially whenever it's that much of your identity. But yeah, so like you can't like go through those processes and think like week by week, like, oh, I'm gonna get better week by week. Like you're probably not. Like some weeks, I'd go into rehab and I'd be like, oh, I'm gonna do great this week, and then just nothing happens. Like I feel like no progress is made. But then if you look at it in the greater scheme of a month, then you have more progress, like in the grand scheme of things. But yeah, like week to week is it's a bad way of looking at the recovery process. I think you really need to, you can't drink, you have to really worry about your sleep. Like if you're going out on, like, if you think about it, your body needs water to, for protein synthesis, all the natural bodily functions. So if you're going out and drinking on the weekends, you're depriving yourself of the nutrients that your body needs. If you're not sleeping, your body's not actually having time to recover. So like you need to do everything right. And I feel like that's a lot of times what people struggle with whenever they get into those situations, because, like you can be hurt and then it hurts you mentally. And then some people take up, some destructive habits, like they'll stay up all night playing video games because it makes them happier. They'll go out and drink with their friends because it makes them happier.
Short-term happiness.
Yeah. And they'll like eat food because it makes them happy. And like, it's not helping you in the long run. And I think that's one thing that's really overlooked with recovery in general. And it's one thing that's not really talked about a lot, especially whenever you're on the level of being like, an elite athlete. Like, you can't take something like that for granted, because like, I mean, I saw it with myself. Like,
3 times.
Yeah. But like, you got to like, sleep is the biggest thing, honestly. If you're not getting, 8 hours of sleep whenever you're recovering, like your body will suffer and it will not heal properly in the end, because you're not actually, you're not letting it heal.
Hormones, the blood flow,
But yeah, I think, sleep and set long-term goals are the two advices that I'd give to people who are going through the process. And also, like I said, don't let a bad week of rehab or progress or lack of progress set you back and like discourage you from actually working towards your goal. Because in the grand scheme of things, you're improving, but it might not seem like that during that week, or it might not seem like that during those 2-3 weeks, and especially in the beginning. But if you keep, like, I would say, it's like really cliche, try to keep a good mindset through it. Like, it's hard. It's not easy. Yeah, exactly. And like, if you have a good support group around you, obviously it's going to go a little easier. But, especially when, like I said, I was talking a lot about like identity and stuff, but I mean, as an athlete, we're raised, I saw that. I don't know if you saw that post that the one guy put out. I think he must have been like a sports psychologist or something, but he was talking about, kids growing up, in athletics, and why like all these student athletes are like committing suicide. And it's because, your sport is such a big part of your identity that, whenever it's taken away from you, or whenever, you get bad grades and you can't compete with your team, like people depend on you. Like, especially, being track is a little bit more individualistic, but I think in the grand scheme of things, you have team points, all that, and like people are depending on you, and you have fans depending on you, and you have, your family and your scholarship, which is one of the biggest things. Yeah. But your value is basically derived as an athlete from your production. And and I think that's something that is really hard to get over or get through whenever you're recovering from like a major injury. But yeah.
That's it. I love that you said that. Very important to keep in mind that, like you said, it sucks, right? It's not like, oh my God, I'm dealing with it. Like, oh, it's horrible. Yeah, it does suck. And when you realize, and talk to your peers, talk to people who went through it, talk to somebody like you who went through it, right? It should help. It should at least give you insight. Like, hey, I'm not the only one who went through this. Yes, this too shall pass. People depend on me, on my performance. I disappointed my teammates, disappointed my coaches, my scholarship. It's hanging in the air, but at the end of the day, that too shall pass. But I think we, as humans, we overestimate what we can do in short term, right, and underestimate what we can do long term, right? So what you can do in a couple of days, you overestimate. Like, oh yeah, I can get better week to week. I'm going to get so much better. But then you underestimate how important that is, those little steps in 10 years or years from now, how they're going to build up. You can be a major difference, like in your case. So keeping that in mind, mental health it's really important for mental health to understand. Yes, I failed. That's part of life. It's not the first or last time that happened to somebody. Everybody, it doesn't make it easier, right? Because everybody experiences the pain differently. I can't say like, I had 17 surgery, look at me, but you only had one, right?
But that one surgery might be so much more important to that person than 17.
Yeah. And that person can feel it so much. I mean, it's everything, the pain that never felt. Yeah. And you have your parents that are great, supportive as well. How much did that mean to you through high school and in college?
I mean, I think, it's two different.
Your daddy wants you to play football.
My dad wanted me to play baseball.
Baseball,
yeah.
Okay.
He never told me that. He never told me that. He was never somebody who like forced me into something. But I know it killed him.
Which is very important, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So he had his desires, but he didn't force him.
Exactly. Right? But I know it killed him, the fact that I quit baseball my freshman year. Like he was, he told me whenever I got to college, and he's like, "But thank God you did." Like like you're obviously like I'm in the position that I am now.
All-American already, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm setting myself up for hopefully more success in the future. But he's like, thank God that I didn't tell you, because like life works in weird ways. It's like the cliche thing of saying it, but I know, like, I mean, I quit track my freshman year to get faster for football because I was like, I'm going to play football in college. And then that didn't work out, obviously. But
that was your identity, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Football player was your identity.
Yeah, exactly. And I kind of transitioned more into Javelin because like I've been able to throw hard my entire life. Like, never really had the accuracy aspect of it, but I mean, I could always throw something far. So that's kind of where it started. But yeah, like I said, I mean, my parents they're two different sides of a similar coin. Like they're both very motivating factors within, but each in their own regard. So like, and they do overlap a little bit, but my dad is more of like the athletics perspective. My mom's more of the academics perspective. So, and both of them, are very supportive in both ways. But like my dad, he played baseball for his entire life. And from what I hear from people around our town, he was pretty good. But he went to college, and then he dropped out of college because he got a job, and he was happy with where he was at that point. And like he explained to me whenever he was younger, and this is where my dad's like academic influence comes in, but he explained to me whenever he was younger, his dad's goal for him, and I love my grandpa, God rest his soul, but he said his dad's plan for him, not his plan, his dad's requirements for him whenever he turned 18, he said, you get a job,
Okay.
you don't get arrested, and we're good.
Okay.
And if you think about it, like he's a great man, raised a great family, but like what kind of example are you setting for your kid whenever you're telling him basically do the bare minimum, And I think that's why, and that's something that my dad tells me all the time too. Like he's like, I will not let you do the bare minimum, because he got caught up in it whenever he was younger, and then he got to a point in his life whenever he looked back on it, he's like, you'll never do that. I'll never let you do that. And so for him, education is huge. And for my mom, she works in education, and she's been a huge guiding factor in my education journey. But like I said, but my dad was more like the athletic side. He coached me a lot whenever I was younger. Whenever I got to middle school, he kind of passed me on to the coaches then. But yeah, so both of them have been a massive part of my journey as an athlete and a person in general. But yeah, they're like I said, two sides of the same coin where they're really
It worked well.
Yeah, they're really guiding me, I think, in the right directions. And I mean, I hope I'm making them proud.
But you are, and I can see. And your fans travel well too. A young lady whose parents and team travels well to the meets. They talk about these teams, right? Football teams or colleges who travel well. One of the colleges that is on our conference, but your fans travel well as well. They show up. And it's great to see that they are so supportive of you doing track and field, right? Just doing what you love. And I think that's so very important for all the young athletes that have people around them. Again, we go back to the support system around you. Even though your dad wanted you to be a baseball player, because you probably would have been a very good one, or you would end up in an environment, again, maybe some school that was not your good fit. So you can never know how it turned out, but you were doing great what you're doing, and it's great again to have you transition from identity of a football player into getting injured. This is it, right? I'm done, and you found a way to create a new identity, right? I think that's in this day and age, like we mentioned, so many young women and men committing suicide for various reasons, but these athletes lately, right? To keep that in mind, like, hey, yeah, this is what I'm doing right now. And I keep telling you guys this all the time, right? This is just temporary. You can be a great athlete unless you are top 3 in the world. In throwing, top, right? Yeah. Not even top 3. You got to be top to make some money that you can be comfortable with in 10 years of making it, that you don't have to work ever again, right? So I don't even know if Ryan Krauser, I think Ryan Krauser could be one that you can say, like, okay, he's going to make money in the next 5 years. He doesn't have to work. Yeah. If you're number 5 in the world in shot put right now, I don't know what to tell you. You're going to have to find him. You're going to have to find work after you're done. Yes, throwing is fun. It's great. But you got to build yourself as a person, education, or whatever that is. Yeah. If you have a good opportunity in work, construction, being an operator, let's say, in some machines, those guys can make some good money. Yeah. Working on a dozer, or stuff like that, you can make 6 figures. You don't need college. Welding. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I have so many friends from Croatia. They get these jobs, welders, around the world. I'm like, what am I doing coaching, right? But again, I love coaching and I love track and field, and does well for me. And I love seeing you guys do that, right? Throw far. So it makes sense for me. But if it doesn't make sense for you, right? Yeah. And if you're tangled up in it and you're throwing 63 meters as a senior in college, you're not going to make money out of it. All right? Education is very important. Or have skills that will get you there to sustain yourself as a person, right? Not to be dependent on somebody else. Men and women, doesn't matter what kind of job it is. You can be a construction worker as a woman too, as a female. Do what makes you happy, but also be smart about it, right? Set your goals up. But on the same note, what you're doing right now, and it's paying out for you. Whatever you do, you want to do 100% to have no regrets, right? So you got to sleep during recovery. You got to do everything that you can, not half-ass it, right? So it's like, oh, I'm not going to do track when I finish, so I'm just going to, like, why even do it, right? So why should I hate seeing?
That's my biggest pet peeve, with whether it be teammates or just people in general. Like, that they could amount to so much more if they really invested all of their time and energy into it. Not even all their time and energy, just more. But
while they're there,
yeah, exactly. But like while you're doing it, like and maybe it's the competitor in me, but like I've always kind of prided myself on showing up to wherever and with the intentions of winning. Like I was competing against Anderson Peters my freshman year, dude threw 87, ended up winning world championships. And I remember talking to you, and I'm like, well, I mean, if he has a bad day and I have a really good day, like I got a chance. Like there's no reason why I couldn't. And but like. That's that's kind of the perspective, like, and it's like I said, it's one of those things that you got to set lofty goals, like you have to, but also don't be discouraged by the fact that you don't reach there, because
don't be stupid.
If I would have got pissed off at the fact that I lost to a guy who ended up winning the world championships that year, how dumb would that have made me? Just gave up javelin altogether. Like, it's not for me. I can't do it. I can't compete against the best of the best, but and it's one of those things too. Like I'm looking at him, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm thinking like, I could, that could be me, eventually.
Yeah.
But
do I have what it takes? Yeah. What can I do to make it? Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I think I just don't understand people, showing up with the attention of, not putting everything forward. Like, and I don't know, maybe it's just something that people just raise differently, or different priorities. But I mean, I think sports is a big indicator of your success in life.
Exactly. That's where I'm going through it. Yes, that's my point right now. You nailed it. It's how you do anything is how you do everything. So what I love about you is when you come to practice, you are at practice 100%, and then sometimes I write these things down on a paper, and let's see how many. Obviously, everything within reason, but let's see how many Ethan is going to do today at the beginning, right? For freshmen, I always make notes for that, and then you either gain my trust or don't. Right? You never ever skipped a rep, a set, jump. Always 100%. You're there 100%. And then like you said, you on your own, you had some issues that you had to deal with it as well, right? When you're home, and take care of that. But at practice, wherever you were, when they were there, you were there 100%. And this is advice for all the young athletes as well. Don't show up for practice at all if you're not going to be there 100%. When you show up for a job, this is, like I said, it's going to make you into a person as well. When you show up for a job and you don't like the job, very likely, 99%, the next job who you're applying to, those people will call your boss, say, how was the effort, right? Recommendation. You can put your recommendation top 3, whatever, but they're going to call the boss as well. It's like, hey, how's this person at your work? Oh, he was late. He didn't show up on time. All the time. He half-assed it through the whole work. You're not going to get that job next time that you think that you like, right? So wherever you are at the moment, you have to be there 100%, because that next opportunity will not open up. If it does open up, it will close really quickly, knowing that you are not putting your 100%.
Yeah. One thing, I think this is a good segue into it, but I think one thing that I've really prided myself on, as an athlete, is handling pressure. And I competed my freshman year nationals, ended up getting 7th. I was ranked 4th going into it, so I wasn't really happy with my placement. But I mean, still, it's a lot of stuff to take in. As never competing at a high level competition like that. Like, I competed at nationals once in high school, so that was my first big competition. I think I handled the pressure pretty well, but I'm like I said, I'm somebody who prides themselves on taking pressure well, but I think my perspective on it is different than a lot of people that I've had that I've interacted with in the past. Because like you were saying, in the job, like for the job analogy, like I think of it, as a presentation. Like, your presentation as an athlete is you showing up and getting it done, like at a meet, at a competition, any of that stuff. So if you're thinking of it like that, why would you not prepare at all for the presentation, how much more comfortable would you be
Yeah.
preparing, the entire week leading up to that presentation, and then just stepping on stage, presenting in front of your class, and you're like, hey, I know all this. I'm going to tell you about it, right?
Yeah.
But with competition, it's training for the last 10 months.
Yeah.
So why would you not do everything you can during that 10-month period to prepare yourself for those competitions or those presentations, And I think that's one thing that's really guided me through my life as an athlete is the fact that, like, I pride myself on nobody outworking me. And I think you can speak to it, but I don't think there's a person in the NCAA that's worked harder than me, at least not this year.
Yeah.
But between all the cardio and all the circuit training and the weightlifting and everything, I don't think that there's a person who's worked harder than me. And I think I can say that with confidence because, like, I know what I did. And I hope that there's somebody out there who has. But that brings me so much comfort going into competitions, stepping on the runway and being like, this is what I came here to do. Yeah. And holding back some choice words because I'm getting a little excited. But no, it brings you so much comfort to know that you prepared better than anybody else. And there's not a doubt in your mind that everybody else there has not worked as hard as you because you're more prepared than everybody else. And that brings you the most amount of comfort that you could ever imagine in your life. Stepping onto a big stage like nationals as a freshman, and you're not doubting yourself because you worked harder than everybody else. But yeah, I think that's one thing that I've noticed. As an athlete, people's perspectives are very different, and even high performing athletes. I've been around some of the best athletes in the world while I've been here, and everybody's perspective is different. And I'm not saying mine's the best, but I think I have a pretty good outlook on, preparedness and competition and handling stress. But I remember, not to call out Hilmar, but I remember he couldn't sleep the night before he competed. I'm like I can't understand that, and not to say that
for him,
not to say that he didn't
really
do well,
yeah,
but that's just to show, like, maybe my perspective isn't the best. Maybe that my perspective isn't something that works for everybody else. Mm-hmm. But I know for a fact that it works for me. And I figured it worked for at least a couple other people. Yeah. But yeah, I think whenever you really get down to it, you got to prepare yourself for the best and prepare yourself for the worst. Because you can't really, like you said, maybe you get food poisoning before you compete. Or maybe, you're competing with a torn UCL. And you got to defend your ACC championship title. So, you can never really prepare for the unexpected, but you can at least control all the variables leading up to it. And I think that's one thing that really, I think, sets me apart as an athlete and I think it's something that's contributed to my success.
I agree 110% on that one. And I don't think you had ever issues with competing for that reason, because you did everything that you could have done in your strength and your control to get to this moment, and knowing that you did everything that you could to get ready, to prepare yourself, you're not going to be nervous, right? You're not going to be nervous at me because I did everything. If it sucks, well, so what? I did everything I can, right? If it doesn't, if it goes well, yes, that's what I'm hoping for. 2021 regionals, right? You worked your butt off. Injuries there, and you didn't make the final. You didn't go to nationals, and that sucked. But you were content knowing that you did everything that you can in your power. Yeah, there's ups and downs, but you made yourself an inch better. Step closer to your goals every day working on it, right? It's not that you have to be a robot. Like you said, there's going to be there's going to be things that you're going to do. But as long as you know that you are working on those things and you are getting better at those things, you'll come with a clean conscience, even if you fail, right? Exactly. So that was one of my questions is, you just answered it. A lot of athletes, when they ask, do you get nervous for the big championship or the meet, it's some of them will answer, and one was your also UVA thrower alumni. He said, I don't know what you mean by nervous. I get excited. Yeah, exactly. Right? Because there's adrenaline, and I'm excited to compete. But sometimes if you're not doing what you need to do, then you're doubting yourself. That's nervous. Like, oh, shit, I'm going to suck. I'm already. I want to fail this presentation. I don't know the slides. Yeah, then you're nervous because you didn't get ready. But when you're prepared, you did everything, then you get excited. Like, oh, I get to do this thing that I get prepared for, right?
Yeah, one thing that I talk with a lot about the people on the team is, perspective, I think. And I think, life, it's cliche, life's a matter of perspective, all that stuff. But if you change the way you look at things, they become a lot easier to understand. So, like one of our teammates, she hates Mondays, or she hates Wednesdays, I think. But she's like, it's the worst day of the week. Well, and then I think you said something that you changed. You have a good building block for the first 2 days, and then everything else you can build off. If it's bad, then it's a day to get better. If it's good, it's a day to get even more better.
Do better in the next 2 days, right?
Exactly. So, it's like the Monday perspective too. Like you can either look at it as man, like it's the start of another week. Like I'm ready to work my butt off, and then hate my life until Friday, and then I'm free. Or you can think of it as it's Monday, it's time to get some stuff done, and it's a new week, new week to get better.
Build up,
exactly, and that's something too. But I think what you said, like what's nervousness, like especially for competition. Like if you're prepared, you have no reason to be nervous. There's not a doubt in my mind that I'll come up to a competition and I'll be ready to go. Yeah, I'll feel it, like I feel my body tingling, like I feel the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, but like I'm not like shaking in my boots because I'm scared, because like you said, nervousness comes from the lack of preparedness. And I think that if you prepare yourself better than everybody else, like I said, then there's a very big level of comfort that comes from that. And I think that's something that's really important to realize as an athlete. Like you can go to a competition and you can have nerves, like you can get a little excited, a little jittery, but there's a big difference between that and nervousness. Because, and like I said, life's a matter of perspective. So like your perspective of winning isn't maybe the same as my perspective of winning, because, and I'm not trying to sound conceited when I say that.
What win means to you, right?
Yeah.
What is
so,
that?
because like, I'm not trying to sound conceited when I say this either, but like my goal whenever I go to a competition, because I'm one of the better throwers in the NCAA right now, is to win every competition that I go to. And I'll be mad if I don't win, because simply like that is the goal that I set for myself.
And it's a realistic goal.
Yeah. But you can't be, a lower level thrower and want to go to a competition and win and then be mad at the fact that you didn't win. Like you have more time to develop. So you need to count your wins in a different way of just, distances or medals or something along the lines of that, because you're not going to actually improve if you get mad after every competition, because, you're not setting yourself up for success in that moment. Like set yourself up for success in the long run, but realize, where you kind of stand in the grand scheme of everything.
And this is really important for the whole time in college, for the whole time in high school, to compare yourself, like you said, compare yourself to yourself and set your goals that are realistic for you. You're 80-meter thrower. There's only one person there throwing as far as you, a little further. And of course, you're going to set yourself a goal that you're going to win every meet. You're not going to set yourself a goal that you're going to throw 105 meters yet, right? That goals has to be realistic, lofty but realistic. And if you go through college like that, if you go through high school like that, the life is going to be just so much better. And again, as a coach, I got to go back to this and say, there's a lot of terrible coaches out there that put goals to their athletes that are way above their head or their abilities. And that's a really bad thing, not just for yourself as a coach, but for the young man or woman that you're putting those goals on. So the coaches have to take responsibility out there and not say, oh my God, you suck today, right? There was this young man at ACC last year, right? You obviously came and won like you always do, right? I think some people wanted to win, but you're so much better at the level, right? And even with the injury, you were able to throw over 71, foul 75. This young man, his PR was 68, I think 60, something like that. Goes there, throws 63. And the coach goes, oh, that was, I'm not gonna lie, that was shitty, that was terrible. Like, no shit. Like the kid knows that. Like, you don't think he knows that? He's not helping at all, right? So, what you can do in that situation, like, hey man, is like you said yourself, this is gonna be. We did everything that we can. It didn't turn out well. This is an opportunity to learn, right? When the coach gets out there and tells you that you sucked, like you don't know that, right? Like I see that 63 and that was 68. I can see the 5 meter difference. I'm not stupid, right? I always go back also to my high school coach. I did terrible at this meet, and maybe I was lucky to have the experience, so I don't repeat it for you guys. And I felt so terrible because I wanted to be good at that meet. Right, it was a world championship, junior championship. And he was like, "Oh, you're a psych case. You choked up." Like, no shit. I know that. I can see that I threw bad. I don't need you to put oil on that fire, right? Yeah. So coaches out there too really have to be careful with this. With anybody that coach is like, hey, they're there to work hard. If they're there to work hard. If they're not, like I said, don't show up for practice. Tell them like, hey, this is not for you. Yeah. Do something else. And then when the meet comes, do everything that you can to pump them up and hope for the best. Just hope for the best, right? Yeah. What do you do to get yourself pre-meets? Do you have a pre-meet a routine or get yourself pumped up? What's your routine?
So, I mean, with track, you kind of have events that fall in like different times of the day and everything. So I kind of try not to fall, or I try not to, have a ritual or something that, I have to do before I compete or anything, because it's so, everything is so different, like from day to day. So, like last year at ACCs, I competed on the first day. This year at ACCs, I compete on the second day. But it's later in the day, and then last year it was earlier in the day. So, you go to a meet and everything changes. So the conditions are never the same. And I think whenever you get like a ritual to set up for a meet and then something messes that up, and then it messes with your head. Right. And I think, it's not bad. It's not bad to have, to want something to go a particular way. But if you need it to go that particular way, that's when you're running into problems, because maybe you're away at a meet, and you don't have the same food that you would normally eat before. Yeah. Like maybe you, exactly. So like maybe you eat like a Chipotle burrito before you compete, like the night before or something, and then but like you didn't get your Chipotle burrito before you compete in a major competition. Exactly. So then it messes with your head and you doubt yourself because you're like, oh, I haven't done everything like it's the same exact way. So I don't really have anything like ritual wise that I do. Yeah, but I mean I load up on carbs the night before, and then I eat pretty light throughout the day because I don't like competing on with my stomach full or even like remotely full. Like I don't like feeling stuff in my stomach whenever I compete. But I know that as a competitor, and I kind of structure my day around. So my rituals change week to week. Yeah, okay. But yeah, so I'll do that. I have a little playlist that I listen to. Put it up on my Spotify, and I'll kind of run through that through the day. But I'm not, I think the only thing that stays the same whenever I'm competing is my perspective whenever I actually compete, because I'd like to think I'm a pretty friendly guy. I try to make friends with everybody. But if I'm talking to somebody before I'm starting to throw, I'm like, hey, I give them a heads up. I'm like, just a heads up. Like I'm not trying to be an asshole. I'm not trying to be like mean or anything, but like whenever I compete, like it's time to compete. So like I shut out everybody else and I don't let anybody else, like I don't even pay attention. I mean, unless there's like a big throw or something, I don't pay attention to how other people do. I worry about myself and I worry about what number I need to be. And I look at numbers. I don't look at names. I don't care about what school they're from, who they are, if they're my friend or not. If they're not my friend, all the better. But but yeah, if they are my friend, sorry, but like I don't have friends whenever I compete, and I make that known to them because I'm like, cause I'll be like buddy with some guys before I compete, and I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but when it's time to go, it's time to go. You got to flip the switch, and I think that's really the only thing that I consistently do whenever I compete. It's like flip the switch. Like that's something my dad always said when we were growing up. Like there's certain people I think that can do that, and there's certain people that can't. But like I'm kind of one of those people. It's like time to go, and like boom, like it's you're like it's time to compete. Yeah. It's a different mindset. But yeah, I think that's really the only thing that I really keep pretty consistent. Like I said, I'll carb load the night before just to keep my energy up. Music, hydrate, and then the only thing that really stays exactly the same whenever I do compete is just the fact that I'm shutting everybody else out. Okay. Because you'll get some. I had this whenever I was in high school. You'll get some dudes talking about some like really out of pocket stuff. Like dude was talking about, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna go out and party after this. I don't even care how I do. I'm like, oh, congrats, man. Yeah. Like what is that doing to help me as an athlete? You know, and I think you need to be very selfish whenever you compete, because you can have friends, you can want them to do well, but like in a perfect world, like I want everybody to throw PRs, but I just want to throw farther than everybody else. Like, you know, like, and I think that's the beauty of being a throwing athlete, you know, especially within the throwing community. Like, it's such a niche community, but everybody's super supportive. Everybody's really like nice to each other. But like, you got to be selfish. You have to be selfish, especially like when you compete, whenever you train, like you have to have a certain level of selfishness about yourself. And that's not to say, you know, be completely, you know, self-centered and like egotistical sociopath kind of deal. But like, you know, you got to have a certain level of respect for yourself to realize that everybody can't win. And you need to set yourself apart from them in some way. And if that takes, you know, throwing further than your friend and beating your friend that day and having them be upset and having you be happy, then that's what it takes. But you can't have friends when you compete. And I think that's like I said, you know, flip the switch, shut everything out, and worry about myself is one thing that only stays the same whenever I do compete.
I love that, and I honestly see that with you, and I see that when you show up at practice after you have a major throw like you did in 80 meters, and you showed up on Monday fresh. Yep. Right? Like, you guys, knowing you guys for 3-4 years, I can tell when you're fresh, when you're not. Yep. Especially big guys, you get the little heavy eyes, right? If you had a overnight, what do you say, all-nighter paper, right? All-night paper, I can tell that, right? Because you guys write all papers. So I get to know you over time, and it's not you know, you can tell me one thing, but I can see it, right? And you did exactly that. You showed up on Monday, like, oh shit, let's go, right? Let's go 90 meters, next stop, right? And when athletes tell me like, oh, I want to throw far, and then that doesn't reflect their commitment, right? It's a sad thing to see, but it's fine. Like, you don't want to throw far. I had a young man, he called me freshman year. He was going home at 12:30, right, midnight to 12:30. After midnight, and he called me like, hey coach, I'm going home. Just, you know, why are you calling me? I just wanted you to know that I'm going home. I want to, you know, I was hanging out with my friends. I'm like, awesome, this kid's gonna be a champion, right? Because this kid, I'm like, you don't have to call me, you know, I'll tell something happen. You don't have to call me. I believe you, right? I'll see you. But that's the attitude of the champion, and somebody who really wants to do well in the sport. Right? You can tell me you want to do well in sport, but then you don't show up for practice for a week, all right? Or you show up tired. We'll still train. I love you guys, right? You're here for a reason, because I recruited you, and you want to find a way to become a better version of yourself. But then don't be surprised when somebody beats you at that day that you want to be a champion, and you end up not being, because you didn't show up during the year, right? So if you're doing 100%, like we said, and also try to be that person. What is that person doing? It can be your friend, Venus Williams and Serena Williams, right? They're amazing, but they had to play with each other at some point. They love each other, right? Their sister, they will cry. Both of them will cry. Whoever loses that day, Wimbledon, remember first time they played in finals. Only one sport I would say you don't want to play your friend is boxing, or you know, that's hard, right? Like MMA. I remember Klitschko brothers never want to fight each other, right? Luckily, they don't have to. There's 3 categories, right? So they both were world champions. You're not going to knock out your brother, right? Which you did in childhood, probably, right? So probably they know, like, I don't want to fight my brother, he's my brother, but maybe you know, like, oh shit, he's gonna beat me, right? No, he's my brother, I want to play. But also what I like about you, you're very competitive, and you have a lot of friends, ACCs, national. You guys, you really do connect with those throwers.
Yeah, absolutely. I grabbed dinner with a couple guys that we competed against on Friday night, and then we sat in my car and talked about Javelin for about an hour. You know, just little things to, you know, work on. And I think that's the beauty of throwing, you know. Like, you want everybody, and then the one kid threw a PR the next day. So, like, I'd like to think, you know, that was a little product of the conversation, but I mean, I'm sure it's not, you know, but it makes me feel better. But
how different this is in track than that you got experience in football.
I mean, football, like, it's man versus man. Like, you're literally like button heads the entire time that you're competing. And like, I've said some things during football games I probably would get kicked out of school for saying, like, right now, you know. But like you get caught up in the moment, it's very like team oriented atmosphere. You're fighting with your brothers, 10 other dudes on the field with you, and you're getting the absolute shit beat out of you for
bruises.
60 minutes.
Bruises.
Yeah. I remember I would wake up after football games and like I would try to like reverse my car out of the driveway and have to turn my entire body because I couldn't move my neck because it was so stiff, because you're just taking beatings. And I'm happy I don't do it in college because it would just be even worse now. But really like football, you are going to war. Yeah. And I mean, it's funny, because like track, throwing, especially like they're implements of war. But
it is.
But yeah, I feel like because it's not actually like if you're throwing javelins at each other, like yeah, sure, you probably wouldn't be the best of friends.
Different sport, yeah.
Yeah, but no, like I think because you're throwing with each other, you're not throwing against each other. I guess you are, but you're not in direct opposition to somebody
physically.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of the thing that separates track from other sports whenever you really get down to it, because you're competing with people. Yes. And I think that's and it's such a small community too. Like whenever you get a bunch of guys around you who are like really amped up about the same stuff that you are, you get excited, and you just want to talk about it for hours. Yeah. And like you make some really good friendships from it. And I think that's one thing that's kind of I've carried through with me these last couple of years. Like, I mean, and Instagram's made that so easy too, because everybody's posting their throws, everybody's posting their training.
Each other
exactly.
The year, yeah.
So like I think like Cinder Goodmanson, for example, he threw at Mississippi State, threw at Utah State before that. I talked to him twice in my life, but me and him are always pretty regularly, messaging each other on Instagram saying like, hey dude, good throw, I saw the training throw.
Different states.
Exactly. But and it's such like a tight community that I think that like it's just really cool to have that, and that's really where it differs from football. Like you're going to war against somebody.
And you can say some words that are it's hard to forgive.
I mean, you get caught up in the moment, and I've talked to a couple of dudes like after from my hometown, like see them out at the bar or something. You're like, hey, like what's up, buddy? Like hey, no hard feelings. And it's always the same. Like oh, we were in high school. It's that kind of deal, like school spirit, all that stuff. Like it really gets to you. Yeah. But I think with throwing, like I said, it's such a tight community that everybody wants to see everybody else do well, at least in my experience and the people that I surround myself with. But I just want to do better than everybody. And I think that's the perspective that a lot of people are taking. Like I was talking to the guys, like the best day for me is if everybody PRs, but I just throw a little bit farther.
Yeah.
Like I'm cool. If everybody throws 80 meters and I throw 80.01, I'm a happy guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I think it's that's kind of the thing that really separates it. Whenever you bring 11 different heads together on the same team and everybody's working for the same goal compared to if you're just competing one-on-one against it. You really face a lot less animosity, I guess. Yeah.
What I really like about sports, our sport, like you said, you make these friends and you make them for a lifetime. People from Iceland, not just the teammates, Simonsson, right? You meet them on these meets and you know that he's going through same dirt as you are in training, with injuries, with sleep, with technique, right? You know exactly what he's going through, and because it's so hard, you appreciate him much more than you would just on the sideline, right? Yep. And you want to beat him at the end of the day, but you appreciate what he's doing because you know how hard it is, right? Because you know what you're going through every day.
I think one thing you said too, like about the sidelines, I think that's one reason why throwing is so. I think there's so much mutual respect between everybody. So strong, because like football, there's 11 dudes that play on the field at any given time, but a lot of guys are watching from the sidelines. So like a lot of people are, thinking like, oh, I do so much better than people out there. And there's a lot of like inter competition, like inter-team competition. But
and a lot of blame you can blame. Like, hey, you didn't block that guy, man. I got crushed, right? Exactly. Like you can, even with your teammates, you can get mad.
Exactly. And I think the one thing that's really nice about track, everybody competes regardless of their skill level. Like you'll have a meet, like obviously meets have entry standards, but like you'll have a meet, somebody might throw 85, somebody might throw 60, but you're all throwing under the same conditions. And I think that's like the beautiful thing about track because, everybody develops that mutual respect because they realize the amount of work that it takes to get to those levels. And I think that's like, and not that everybody does it in football, but there's a lot less of that direct conflict that I think really tears apart people rather than like brings them together. And there's mutual respect. There's a lot of mutual respect that comes from playing football, but there's a lot of different personalities too. Yeah. So like every once in a while, you get those guys who are head case, and they'll be like, F you, this, all that. And whenever you're playing, I was that guy sometimes. I'm not going to act like I wasn't, But like whenever it really comes down to it, I think when everybody's doing the same thing, especially with Javelin, like there's so much mutual respect across the board that happens with everybody.
Yeah. And that's so true. That's so true. And what I would add, why I like track and field for college athletes, for young men and women in general, because it's really hard to blame your teammate for not having a good game in track and field.
Yep.
Right? It's really hard. Yeah, you can say, yeah, he kept me up all night if he was your roommate, right? That's one thing for sure, okay. But how are you going to blame somebody else for your bad performance, right? There's a number, there's a time, there's a height, right, that shows your abilities, and that's it. You can't blame it on somebody that builds the character. You don't have these alleys to get away, like, oh, he didn't pass me the ball, or I was just on bench, my coach didn't put me in. I was good, but the coach didn't put me in. In track, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, it comes to you, the light's on you, and you have to take things in your own hands and do them right. Right. So there's no excuses in track and field as much as it can be in other sports. It really builds a character for life, and that's why you see so many of these successful CEOs and businessmen out there coming from track, like the young lady we talked on our alumni call. Right, she's a lawyer, one of the top people in Hershey's. She worked her college way up, and she was a thrower. There's no excuses of what you do, right?
Yep.
You find yourself in this sport for whatever reason, but this sport definitely makes you plan things better in your life, right? Because you can't blame it on somebody else.
Yeah, it's really easy to point the finger at somebody else, but whenever it comes down to it, like you have to kind of like move the finger around and point it at yourself. Yeah. Then that's really when like the introspection happens. I think you grow as a person, and I think that's why I like throwing so much. Because like whenever I was younger, we had teams, like it wasn't really like everybody wasn't on the same level. Like I was one of the better throwers in the country as a high schooler, and everybody does well, but like whenever I did bad, I pointed the finger at myself, and I think that's something that made me grow as like an athlete and a person, because you realize like I am directly responsible for my accomplishments. Like my coach can help me get there, but in the end game, like in the long run, you are 100% responsible for every competition that you have. I think that's like I said, really like sobering whenever you look at track as a whole.
No, this sport will chisel you out, and responsibility of me as a coach is like your father did to you, right? Like he's not going to allow you to be mediocre, right? Yeah. He sees potential in you academically and physically, athletically, right? So he didn't push you in the sport that he liked, but he made sure in your mom, right, that you were doing school, that you're getting the best of your abilities. And same for me as a coach. And I know some of you guys hate me at some points, right? I don't know if I don't want to cross the line of being like my coach in the past, right? And just being negative. But I'll be honest with some of you guys when I know that, when I can see that you are ready for it, right? I'm not going to tell somebody like, hey, man, this is terrible. Right? You're worth so much more if they cannot take it, right? Yeah. So I have to, you got to make sure that you know who can receive that news.
Yeah, I mean, right? Like sometimes I've needed it in the past, and you were the one that provided it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. At some point, you just got to be straight up honest, right?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And with you, I know it is what you went through freshman year, right? So freshman year is to get to know the athlete. And I tell this to all you guys, like, you might hate me at the end. I'm not going to make you do runs, right? Forever, right? I'll make you do everything that is in line to get you to that point. Like, if you're here, this is the time we have. Hey, let's make it the best out of it. Let's become the best version of yourself that you can. So for me, as a coach, that's my responsibility, to be honest with you and be supportive, but not be destructively critical, right? Yeah. So like my coach, like, you suck. Like, no, I know I suck, right? Oh, that coach at ACC, like, oh, that was terrible. Like, really, right? Yeah. There's ways you can package that, right? Yeah, exactly. And for you guys is to give your best self, because like, again, there's no it's really hard to point fingers in track and field other than yourself for things that you don't do. We got 6 weeks. We got just a couple more questions before I let you go. We got about 5 weeks till nationals, and then the USA's. What are some technical things that you are working on right now in your throws? You threw 80 meters, but still what are you working on? Yeah,
my block leg, I think, is the biggest thing right now, because I'm watching my throw. watching throwers in general, the thing that separates the 85 plus guys from the regular, 80-meter throwers is the block leg. Like if you watch the majority, with maybe the exception of a couple of really elite throwers, they have a straight left leg, and it just absolutely slams into the ground. Like some of them even hyperextend, like Johannes Vetter. He's, literally his leg bows because of how extended it is. And it blows my mind to watch, but like that's the people that I'm trying to compete against. Yeah. So like I need to get to that level too. And that's like the block.
Love that. Yes. Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah.
But yeah, so I think the shot put med ball throws has really been helping me out because it kind of takes the upper body out of the equation. You can really just focus on the lower body. So really trying to get that straight block leg. I think that will elevate my throw a lot. And then also I kind of have a tendency, to wrap a little bit around the back, and then I don't throw through like straight through the point whenever I'm throwing. So just kind of, throwing through the point. Like I never really missed the javelin, like underneath it or over top of it or anything. But like I always throw it through the point, but lining it up and like actually putting all of the energy directly into the javelin rather than throwing it with like the point kind of pointing out to the side. That's a big point of emphasis right now. And then just really like mentally staying in it, because I feel like it's really easy whenever you do well to get like happy with where you're at. And like I said,
too early, right?
Yeah, like my goals have shifted. At the beginning of the year, it was like kind of see where this is going, see what I can take, see what my arm can take, and then go from there. But like now I have no excuse but to want to win everything.
Yeah. And
like I want to like do everything in my power to get to that position. Yeah. But yeah, so those are the big focuses: block leg, throwing through the point. But yeah, the mental game. But
and you talk about throwing to the point. You want to align your grip with the tip of the javelin to go in the same direction, right? Yeah. So basically, what you do your grip goes through the point, but your tip of the javelin is pointing to the side, right? Yeah. So you want to align those two. Like you talked about the donut yesterday.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
throw with the little kids. But, throw the javelin through the donut.
Yeah. And I love that you mentioned Vetter. Johannes Vetter, right? How do you pronounce it? It's really difficult for us Westerners, even though Germany is, West Germany is West. They're all West right now. But you said that's what he's doing, and I'm trying to compete with him, right? Yeah. So that's a really good point. Like I said, that's what I really love that you said that. I am surprised when people lose and they're mad at themselves, but they haven't done what the guy who won did during the whole year. Yeah. So I have these young men and women that they're so disappointed with when they lose at the major championships. How did you expect to win?
Yeah.
If this guy, who is also very talented, does everything he or this girl that she can do to win, and you don't, and then you're mad at whom, right? You can't be mad at that point. It is what it is. You haven't done what you could have.
The only person you can be mad at in that situation is yourself.
Yeah.
And whatever emotions that you're projecting, that where you're upset, is just you. You projecting your negative emotions towards yourself on other people.
Yeah.
Because you're disappointed that you didn't get something that you didn't deserve. Yeah. And I think that's the big thing too.
I like that point.
But yeah, I mean, I've been around a lot of those people in my life. Everybody wants to succeed,
but they want to do what's necessary to do it, right?
So
only one person can win, but there's going to be a lot of successful throwers, right?
I mean, maybe you get lucky, like maybe you get lucky at a major championship and you throw a 5-meter PR, and
or you throw your best, but nobody else did well.
Exactly,
and you win with 84 meters.
You can't expect to do well whenever you haven't done well the entire year.
So I don't care how you end up with and what your reaction is. What I care is the whole year.
Yeah.
All right. So if you're mad at yourself, like, I want to coach to see. Sometimes this is what I think the athletes think. Yeah. I need coach to see me that I'm mad at myself because we both know I didn't put effort in. And then the whole next year you do the same thing. Like I would rather be like, coach, shit. I knew I'm going to do this.
Yeah.
And you don't have to fake it for me. What I want you guys to do is to be your best, right?
Yeah.
So you're not competing for me, you're competing for yourself. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love it when you guys do well. So building that character with yourself is very important.
Yeah,
Being honest with yourself.
Yeah, I think like what you said, like you could be mad at yourself after, not preparing for the entire year leading up to a major competition.
Yeah.
But then let the
How's the
work
next year going?
let the work the following year reflect it.
Yes.
Rather than, just doing the same thing all over again. Because like that's the thing that separates, like that's the big thing that separates good people from great people in general, But I mean, I think that there's for me, one of the biggest things in my recovery process was, thinking of how good of a story it would be for somebody to have torn their UCL the previous year and then come back and win nationals.
Yeah.
And like, that's my goal. Like, I want to win. I want to win everything. But I let that story motivate me through my recovery process.
Yeah.
And it's still motivating me now because like I wake up every morning and I can feel my scar. I look at it. It's ugly and it looks like a shark.
Yeah.
But like I have these scars on my forearm. Like I've put blood, sweat, and tears into this sport. Yeah. And I know that, like I said, nobody's outworking me. Yeah. Nobody's out-prepared me. Yeah. And I'm letting that story guide me. The story that will come from all that hard work guide me in the end. Because, like, I mean, honestly, how good of a story would it be?
Exactly.
That's one of that's the biggest thing for me. Because like, and I talked it over with my dad a lot too. But he's like, yeah, you got the world in front of you, man. Yeah, and it'd be a shame if you let it pass you by.
What I know for sure, once you guys go through these things that you're going through and you deal with injury the way you do, and yeah, you're going to have ups and downs, but you're going to come back the biggest critic for yourself, of yourself, right? Yeah. And try to do things better is that when you get out of sport, whatever it can be, injury can take you down, just people might start throwing 90 meters all over the place. Yeah. Whatever that's the case is the case. I know whatever you do in your business, that business is going to be successful because you are going to come back like, hey guys, we didn't have shipping on time. What can we do to get better, right? Okay, guys, this product is not as good as we thought. Let's change. Let's figure out what we can do. My boss or our supply or our customers are expecting this. You're going to adjust to that situation. So this sport, these 4 years, 8 years, whatever you do, it's really important to build the work habit and critical thinking, right? Because now you got to think, okay, my elbow sucks, but what can I do with my legs? What can I do with my other arms, right? We're going to pick with the other arm. What can I do with my abs? Yeah. You were thinking all these different things that you can fix before you can use your arm, right? Which you guys are doing so well. That's why I know you're going to be successful people, which so many are, right? Look at Nadia, look at Pobo, right? Yeah. They are killing it right now in world. Jordan building a orchard or vineyard right now. Yeah. You adjust to situation, right? Yeah. So that's what excites me the most, to see you guys, even after sports, what you do.
Yeah, I think one thing that you kind of like hinted at too is like I say, like I want a lot of things, but like want is a pretty bad word to use. A lot of people want. I can want $1 million, but like, what am I doing to actually get $1 million? Yes. Yeah. So I think whenever you, like I said, life's a matter of perspective. So whenever you reframe that question or reframe that statement as I want something to I'm working towards something, that's whenever you grow as a person. Because like you can want whatever you want. You can want to have the biggest mansion in the world, but you can want it, right? Yeah. What are you going to do? Wanting that to actually like wanting is doing nothing for you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So work for it.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing, like I said, that's really one perspective in my life that's changed a lot over time. Because you can want whatever you want in life, but that's exactly what it will be at that point. It'll be a want. And it'll be a goal that you'll never attain. But once you actually start working towards it, then you'll actually reach that goal.
Yeah. And even if you're gonna reach a goal, and you're gonna be happy if you don't, right? Because you did everything you can, it just didn't work out. Okay, there's gonna be other things that you're gonna do really well. They're gonna be make your life in general better than a lot of people's lives because you did everything you can. And you're gonna be able to sleep with yourself at night, right? Yeah. To put that head on the pillow and rest assured that you did everything. Because life gets so much harder with regrets. Regrets hurt so much more than injuries. Yeah. What are some things? The last thing that I want to ask you. So going into college, going into looking for a school, and we'll have multiple podcasts with Ethan here because he's staying for another year. So we'll have at least 2 more, hopefully one before World Championships, God willing, right? What are some things that you want to give advice to kids out there, knowing with all the injuries, with all the environment that you want academically, to look for in college when they're looking for college?
First of all, like, set yourself up for success. I think people, and I was one of those people too, until I really kind of got sobered up to it. But I was one of those people, I got by like skating on good, like decent grades, and I think people really underestimate the power that grades have, because especially if you want to come here, like you can't be just a really good athlete. Like you can be a really good athlete, but in reality, if you don't have the grades to back up your athletic performances, then you can't get into the school that you want to, because also your grades reflect your character as a person. Because if you're getting all A's in school and you're also a really good athlete, coaches are going to realize that you're putting 110% effort into everything, and not just, that you're a gifted athlete and that you're lazy and you get by because you're gifted. So I think that's one thing that people really overlook whenever they're choosing colleges or wanting to be an athlete in college, is the fact that, like, I can get by because I'm an athlete. Like, yeah, sure, your athletic talent can get you, like, I probably wouldn't have gotten in here on my own. Like, my SAT scores weren't crazy, my GPA wasn't crazy, but like my athletic talent set me up for a better situation academically than a lot of people, because it was a distinguishing characteristic about myself. But also I worked to set myself up for that in the future. So I think that's one thing that I'd give advice to. Another thing, especially with social media, don't get caught up in, and I'm not throwing a slate at you, but don't get caught up in everybody posting stuff on social media, because the reality of a team, like a team chemistry, could be very different than what they portray themselves as on social media. And I love the team here. A little disclaimer: everybody's great. So I'm not.
But you want to do your research, right?
Exactly.
So it can be one thing, but you want to visit if you can, right? And really check it out for yourself, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And So, and don't sell yourself short, honestly. But also realize where you fall into line in the grand scheme of everything. Because, like, if you're a pretty good thrower in high school and you want to continue, there's no reason why you can't go to a Division II school or even D3, and hone your craft and enjoy what you're doing, but also get your college paid for. So, like, I was in a situation where I was good enough to get attention from larger schools, but I had the passion for it, and I think that shows with my work and everything, that all the accolades that I've had. But also, like, if you're maybe not the top people in the country, but you want to go to a really big school and put yourself, $280,000 in debt by going to some institution that's not actually taking care of you and doesn't value you as a person, really, you have to look at where you fall into line as a whole. Because if you're placing too much, I wouldn't even say you're placing too much value on yourself, but if you're placing, if you're putting yourself among a group of people that you don't belong in, you're going to hate yourself for it in the long run, because sports are temporary, but debt is forever. I think college debt is literally the only thing that carries with you through your death.
Long time.
Like, your family down the line could pay for your college loans even after you die. Like, your medical bills don't even do that.
I didn't know that.
Set yourself up for success, not only in the classroom, not only with the work that you put in, but like also go somewhere that you're valued, because you're going to hate yourself down the road if you're going to a school where you're, like I said, not valued. Your scholarship doesn't reflect, your scholarship isn't on the same level as everybody else's, because you're maybe not having the same level of output whenever you're maybe going to a smaller school, and it would reflect it a little bit better. But yeah, don't chase your dreams. Don't get me wrong, but don't let your dreams.
Don't let your 30-year-old self hate you, because
exactly.
you have all this debt and you didn't have a good experience, right?
Yeah. But I mean, that's I guess those are the advice I give people.
I love that, and it's if you're like Ethan said, if you are looking for just a good school, but you don't have really what it takes to be there, right? If you want to go to, let's say, UVA or Yale or Harvard, but you want to do English major, which is great, or you don't know what you want to do, and then you get all these debt. Majoring in something that you don't like, you don't know, you're gonna have a lot of debt for a long time, right? If you want to be a computer engineer, and you know that's the good school to go, you will absolutely, or be a doctor, right? And you're great in school, then maybe going to debt might make sense, right? If you want to be a lawyer, when you get out in 3 years, you're gonna make so much money that debt will not make sense. Will we get paid right way? That's, I would say, only a reason why you want to get that, right? If you want to be a lawyer, a doctor, a computer programmer, a physicist, right? Something very specific that you will have better opportunities at this big school, right? Ethan, we'll talk more. I'm excited about the next couple of meets. We got ACCs, regionals, nationals, USAs, and then hopefully world championships. So we'll come back again when he throws 80 again. This was great. I think a lot of young athletes will take it has a lot of value for them to know that when they go through struggle, they can come back, and you keep doing that, man. You keep coming back, rising up from ashes like Phoenix, healing like Wolverine. Ethan, thank you so much for your time. I'll see you at practice in a couple hours.
Sounds good.
We'll stay in touch for you guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks, man.
Mic check. We're not gonna do this interview without Ilya.